Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast, where today we are diving into a truly transformative conversation. Joining us is Denise Dielwart, affectionately known as the Widow Whisperer. Denise isn't your typical grief coach. She's a beacon of hope for those feeling weighed down by the loss, having herself journeyed from profound grief to a place of joy. Denise didn't just find her way through darkness, listeners. She developed the FLOW, grief release method to help others navigate it faster through darkness and with greater ease. And her story isn't about waiting passively for time to heal. It's more about actively engaging with grief, transforming pain into growth, and ultimately rediscovering life on the other side. So, get ready to explore the power of resilience, transformation, and finding purpose amidst loss with someone who's walked this path and is here to light the way for others. So, Denise, welcome to the show, and it is an absolute pleasure having you today with us.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me onto your show and for giving me the opportunity to share a very important message, is really my calling and my absolute passion is about grief. In that grief doesn't define us. Grief is actually a gift to start living our lives again.
Definitely. Wow, what a great beginning to the conversation, listeners. And Denise, you have a deeply personal connection to the work you do. So, can you share a bit about your journey and how it led you to create the flow grief release method?
Absolutely. In 2009, it was a normal Monday morning. Um, my husband and I were getting up, getting ready for work. We both had our own businesses and we worked from home. And he was getting up and, getting ready to go and see a client. And I had a client to go and see. And, the morning hustle and bustle that you have in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And pecked me on the cheek and he said to me, okay, see you later, have a good day. And off he went to work, pecked him on the cheek as well, and off we went. And I was about to get into the car to go and see my client when my mobile rang, my phone rang. It was my husband. And I thought, oh, what does he want? And he said to me, please call the doctor, I've got severe backache. And I thought, gee, okay, that must be bad because he never ever would go and see a doctor. I used to have to drag him to go and see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And before I could get to the doctor, he had collapsed on the side of the road. Called an ambulance, and I'm in Australia, and we were living in regional Australia at the time, which is 8 hours away from Brisbane's major hospital. So they flew him down with the Royal Flying Doctors that we have in Australia and to Brisbane and discovered that he had a bleed in his spine. 1 in a million, our spines don't bleed. He passed away unexpectedly 2 weeks later from a blood clot. Now, I wasn't with him when he passed away. I was travelling up and down, but I wasn't with him, so I was 8 hours away. Didn't even know that he had passed away until the doctor called me to say that he had passed away. And that sent me in a complete tiz, you can imagine. I then had to phone my children and tell them that their dad had passed away. And that started my journey. That was the start of my new life. And after he passed away, I went through the motions. I listened to everybody else, wait for time, it'll get better, go and see a grief counselor. I did everything and nothing helped until I realized that I had to heal me. I had to heal. And that was my turning point. And that's what started my journey to the flow grief release method and to what I do today.
Well, thank you so much, Denise, for sharing, those very sensitive moments, that journey, that beginning to your healing journey with all of us. And, uh, you know, yeah, it's really, it's unfathomable for anyone to even think about, remotely think about, of losing someone you love, your near and dear ones. So thank you so much for sharing this. So the traditional view of grief often focuses, or as everyone says, with time it will get healed. Your wounds will get healed with, as time passes by. How does your approach with the flow method challenge this perspective?
Well, that's a great question. I love that question because I debunk the 5 stages of grief and waiting for time. Now, grief is an emotion. We have to feel our grief. When we are told that just wait for time, you know what, time will heal everything, we then sit back and we wait and we expect that tomorrow is going to be better than today. We might go and see a counselor, we might go and see a therapist, and then we talk about how we're feeling.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today? What happened today? But in that time and in that conversation, we are not taking any action. We're waiting for time. Now, time is just numbers on a clock. It goes tick tock, tick tock, and I say that with jest because time is just numbers on a clock, and time passes us by. We pass through time.
Yeah.
We have to heal ourselves because grief never heals. It never heals. It's an emotion. How do we heal love? We can't heal love, but we can heal ourselves. So when we lose a loved one, whether it's a child, whether it's a husband, whether it's a parent, a sibling, that gap is there. That person is not there. So there's this deathly silence. We can't go and talk to them. We can't go and chat with them. Or if we've had an argument that was unresolved, we can't resolve that. And what that does is, with time, when we wait for time, we start playing all those scenarios and those memories. We start replaying them and reliving them in our mind. And that creates guilt. That creates, if only I could have, I should have. That creates, why did I say that? I should never have said that to them.
Yeah.
And that keeps us stuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It absolutely.
Yeah. So with regards to the 5 stages of grief, the 2 go hand in hand. The 5 stages of grief was created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross way back in the 1960s. She was a psychiatrist. And back then there was nothing for grief.
Yeah.
She created it for people. She did a study on people that were diagnosed with a terminal illness, not for people that had lost a loved one. So those 5 stages were for if you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. Yes, you're going to go into denial. You're not going to believe it. You're going to question it. You're going to go through, when we do. But when you lose a loved one, there are no stages. It's just raw emotion. So you can't go through grief linear. You can't say, well, okay, we'll go through, I'm now in denial, or I'm now in anger, I'm now in acceptance. There are no stages of grief. There's just grief. There's pain, there's heartache, it's all over the place. So what happens and what the narrative and what we've been taught is that you have to go through the five stages of grief, which is going to take time.
Yeah.
Now, if we chuck those 5 stages of grief away, we throw them out the window and we say, I'm not waiting for time, I'm going to heal me. Healing happens really, really fast because you're doing the inner work on yourself. You're finding out, who am I? Who am I now? That was my biggest question after my husband passed away. You know, we met when I was 16 and got married when I was 18, 19. Had our kids young, we lived together, we worked together, we did everything together. And when Martin passed away, I didn't know who I was. Because who was I? Because we become one person. And that's a journey, that's a self-discovery journey into ourselves to find out and to rediscover who we are now without our loved one. And that is that's how we live their legacy. We live in joy, we live in gratitude, we live in, this is who I am, and we recreate and reimagine a new life for ourselves. Because we can't bring that old life with us.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on this. But some people would argue that, grief is a journey that can't or, and shouldn't be rushed, believing that it's natural for it to take years. So, how do you respond to those who may view the flow grief release method as too quick or unconventional?
Okay. So grief, as I said earlier, is an emotion. It's love. We are led to believe and we are told that we need to feel the grief. Now, F is to feel in the flow method. But we're not feeling the grief. You're feeling what emotion you are feeling at that moment in time. If we hang on to the grief, you're hanging on to an emotion that is bringing you down. You're not coming from a space of love. You're coming from fear, because we only have 2 emotions, love and fear. When we come from love, it's impossible to hang on to that grief, because grief is fear. When we come from a space of love and we heal ourselves, we learn to love ourselves, we learn to move forward, and to move forward as quickly as possible. And I know that's so controversial. Everybody, like you just said, a lot of people say, oh, Denise, you've got to it's going to take you years. I was told it's going to take me between 5 to 7 years. And I just couldn't do that. I couldn't live in that state of grief for 5 to 7 years. There was just absolutely no way. And by healing myself, I was living Martin's legacy, because he wouldn't want to see me. Our loved ones don't want to see us cry and live in grief for year after year after year after year. They don't want us to sacrifice our lives for them.
Yeah.
They want to see us be happy again. They want to see us move forward again, whatever that looks like. There is no set way of saying, well, you have to grieve this way, or you have to grieve that way, or you have to grieve for this period of time, or you have to cry, or this. There's no recipe. There's no guidelines. It just is how everybody grieves in their own way.
Correct. Yeah.
But what is dangerous is when we hang on to that negative, heavy grief emotion, because that very quickly turns into depression. And then you don't know whether you're grieving or whether you're depressed.
Yeah.
And what that creates as well is that it creates our chemicals in our brain to change. Grief changes the chemicals in our brain, as does depression.
True. That is true.
So if the longer that we're in that state of grief and sorrow and mourning, the longer our brain is soaking up all those chemicals and is actually changing. Our neural pathways, our brain is changing. So it's really important for anybody. And I know that, even for me now, it's been 15 years, 15, almost 16 years since Martin passed away. I still miss him every day, but I don't grieve for him every day. There's a huge difference. I honor him every day. I sometimes get mad at him too. Sometimes I think, why did you leave me now? I've got to do this. But I'm not sad and I'm not crying and I'm not grieving for him. I'm celebrating the life we had together, and that's the key, is to celebrate the life you had together. And that takes work. It takes inner work. We can't just talk about it. Talk therapy is great when we need to get something off our chest. But we can't just talk about it and how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm feeling terrible. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling that. We can't do that because that keeps us in that state. But in saying that, we can't just then be positive. Oh, well, just think positive. It doesn't work. You can't just think positive. How many times have you been, and I'm sure you've had it as well, where you've been feeling a bit down and you think somebody says, oh, just think positive. And you look at them and go, that's impossible.
Exactly. That's not possible.
Yeah. So what I do and how I help my clients and how I'm now teaching others to become a flow grief release practitioner to help others is to help rediscover and reimagine a new life. And that in itself is a journey.
Great. Well, greatly answered, Denise. And how did you come up with the FLOW acronym, which is feel, let go, overcome, whole? And what does each step mean in the journey through grief?
So after I healed myself and I sort of gathered myself together and I started doing the inner work on myself and doing, learning to love myself, learning to put myself first, learning who I was, all of that stuff, which is hard work. As anybody that's done any kind of personal development knows, I reverse engineered what I did because somebody said to me one day, you need to help others do what you did. And I went, yeah, but I don't know. I don't really know what I did. And I sat down and I went, okay, what did I do to heal? And I reverse engineered my journey, which was a very quick journey. And the very first thing I did was feel. I started feeling my emotions. I started feeling those heavy, deep emotions. When I started feeling those emotions, I would go and lock myself in the bathroom and just rock in a fetal position and scream because I knew I had to feel them. I had to release that energy.
Yeah.
And that I started feeling. Because we can't let go. When we're hanging on to those emotions and we're hanging on to them so tightly, we don't let go. We don't allow space for something new to come into our life. And it's only when we know what emotions we've let go of and what we felt can we then start letting go. Once we start letting go, now that leaves a void, that leaves an openness. Okay, I've let go. I feel a lot lighter. Now what? Now we can start overcoming. That's when you can start planning, you can start creating, you can start going, what do I want to do? That's when you can start getting your clarity so that you can become whole. And the whole is really reimagining your new life, building a new future for yourself. And once you have the flow method and the tools, because emotions come and go. This is not just for one emotion. You're not just going to feel it once. You're going to feel it over and over and over again. It's particularly as you grow and as you release and as you let go, there's going to be more stuff that's going to come up. There's going to be me, oh my God, where did that come from? Yeah. Because you're growing, you're evolving, you're becoming, you're reimagining your new life. But when you've got the tools to be able to do that, you never again ever face a problem or anything in your life again going, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck. Because you have the tools.
That is really, really interesting. And many people feel overwhelmed by the idea of letting go when it comes to grief.
Yep.
Um, how do you help them approach this process in a way that feels safe and nurturing?
Well, that's the whole program. So in my program, how I work with them is it's a journey into self. It's a self-discovery journey.
Mm.
So it's a journey into who am I now? Who am I now? That's the biggest question is who am I now? Who do I want to become? Who am I being right now?
Mm.
Those are all the questions, all within the program. And then with the grief neuro repatterning as well, that's woven into the program as well. We're repatterning habits, beliefs, strategies that we run on a subconscious level.
Mm.
So the letting go is letting go of maybe a pattern or a belief that no longer serves us.
That's true.
So you're not letting go of the person. This is the big thing is you're not letting go of the person.
Yeah.
People don't want to let go because they're afraid that if they let go, they're going to forget about their loved one.
Correct.
They're going to forget about all the memories. They're all just going to disappear. But the opposite, in fact, the opposite happens. The total opposite happens because you start coming from love. So once you let go, you're letting go of all that heavy, negative. I don't want to let go. That you're shut down. You're opening yourself up to a new life. In a lot of widows that I've worked with, have found new love in their life that they never thought would happen. It was never on the radar. It was something that was never going to happen. And suddenly, when they've healed themselves and they've learned to love themselves, they attract the right partner into their life.
No, that is really, really, one of the most positive outcomes anyone could imagine from this whole process.
Yeah. So it's not, when I tried the talk method, and so many of my clients go from therapist to therapist to therapist, they therapist hop without realizing that every person they are seeing is trained in exactly the same modality.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter how many people they see along the way, they're going to get the same information just from a different person.
That is true. And Denise, you have dedicated your life to supporting others through their grief. That's what your purpose is, and you're fulfilling it. So, in your experiences, if you can summarize, what are some common themes or challenges you have seen with those struggling to move forward?
The biggest thing that I've seen is what people believe is true.
Mm-hmm.
People believe that like you said, we have to wait for time. Guilt is another one. They feel incredibly guilty.
Yeah,
Now, they don't just feel guilty because the person has passed away. They feel guilty because they survived.
exactly. Survival.
Survivor's guilt is real.
It's real, yes.
Why didn't I go? In the case of a mother that loses a child,
Mm-hmm.
what mother wouldn't give their life up instead of have to lose a child?
Yeah,
And then survivor's guilt kicks in, and it's a downward spiral because then you get stuck in that downward heavy spiral of becoming the victim of our grief, the victim of our story. And the key is to become the hero. Become the hero and the role model for others to follow you. And just because when you're happy, when you're living life to the best of your ability, everybody else around you is doing exactly the same.
True. That is true.
Yeah. You see, another thing that unresolved grief does as well is it creates disease in the body. Because we're sending those signals to every cell in our body that we are unwell. Our mind is sending signals all over to every cell. I'm not well. I'm sad. I'm lonely. Life is not fair. And our cells then signal those messages.
Yeah.
And it creates a disease. So it's important and it's urgent that we heal ourselves, not the grief, because the grief never heals. We heal ourselves as quickly as possible, that we start living again as quickly as possible. As crazy as what that sounds, but it's the only way to really and truly live life, your life, because we all have a life. Exactly. We're all given a life to live, and death is part of life. But we're not taught how to lose anything. We're taught how to celebrate the birth of a baby, we still a marriage, good, positive things. But when it comes to losing a loved one, we're not taught how to do that. And everybody shuts down. Nobody knows what to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the hard-hitting truth. But again, you beautifully, I think this entire sentence holds the essence of our conversation. Your death is a part of a life. So we have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, Denise. And what would you say to someone, among our listeners, or, I'm very sure, who's hesitant to explore a guided approach like yours, perhaps thinking they should just wait for healing to happen on its own?
What would I say to them? I always use the analogy of having a flat tire on your car. If you're driving along and you get a flat tire, what do you do when you get out of the car? You get out the car. Do you stand next to the tire and wait for it to inflate itself?
Not at all. We change it.
We change it. We pump it up. We get help. And it's the same with our grief. We cannot wait for the grief to just suddenly go away and wait for enough time. Enough time has passed. We can't do it. It just doesn't happen. We have to take action. We have to heal ourselves. Now, when you say a guided approach, it's exactly what it is. It's because we cannot heal ourselves by ourselves. Because we come up against ourselves, we come up against our beliefs, we come up against our conditioning. As a flow grief release practitioner, my job and everybody else that trains with me, our job is to pull you through that onto the other side. It's like pulling you out of a river. Come on, grab my hand. Let's get out of here. Let's get onto the bank. A lot of people say, yeah, but I've been swimming and I've been doing this for so long. I've been in this river of grief now for so long that I feel like I'm drowning. My answer is always, here's my hand. Grab my hand and trust, because there's no need to stay there. There is no need for anybody to stay in grief.
Right. Lovely, Denise. That was really, really a heartfelt conversation we have had. And finally, for listeners who may be supporting a friend or loved one in grief, or maybe going through the same journey, what advice would you give them for offering meaningful support?
Just be there for them. The last thing to do for anybody, or the worst thing you can do for anybody in grief, is to give them advice. Tell them what to do. Never tell them what to do. This is everything that I teach my grief flow practitioners as well in the academy, is that it's all about questioning. It's about holding space. It's about being there offering guidance but not advice. Because the person that's grieving is already looking around at other people that have walked their journey before them and gone, but gee, they weren't like me. They're comparing their grief journey to somebody else.
Hmm.
There is no two grief journeys alike. Every grief journey is unique.
Lovely, lovely, Denise. That was a lovely advice. And if our listeners they wish to connect with you and explore more about the flow grief release method, how they can do that.
Oh, I've got so many ways they can connect with me. Obviously through my website, which is flowgriefacademy.com. My YouTube channel, Courageous Widows, they can connect with me through there. They can also book a call with me. All the links are on my website. So, the quickest and easiest way is to just go straight to my website and have a look. There's a whole lot of links there of everything that I do. If they want to become a flow grief release practitioner, there's a whole lot of information on there. If they want to work with me, there's a whole lot of information on there as well. And of course, there's also my YouTube. Check me out on YouTube, Courageous Widows. So, yeah.
Great. We'll have all the details mentioned for our listeners. And Denise, thank you so much, first of all, for sharing your story and also the journey of your creation of the flow grief release method. In fact, these are such a powerful reminder that even in our deepest moments of loss, there is a path forward, one that can lead to rediscovering joy, meaning, and connection as you did in your life. So, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this gift with all of us.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I just quickly want to put a plug in. I've just released my book as well, which is on Amazon, and that's Courageous Widows
Lovely.
as well. So, yeah, check me out on Amazon. I'm everywhere.
Lovely, lovely. That is superb. We'll have the link as well in our show notes.
Thank you so much.
So, listeners, if you or someone you know is navigating grief, remember that healing doesn't have to mean waiting in the dark. There are tools, there are ways like flow that can help bring light back into the life. Denise has really shown us that it is possible to transform pain into growth, to honor our loved ones, to cherish those memories while embracing a new chapter, a new beginning in your life. So stay tuned for more such inspiring conversations on the Mindful Living podcast. And until next time, take care of yourselves, of your loved ones. Find hope in each new day, in every moment. And remember that healing is a journey you don't have to take alone. Thank you for listening.